Good morning, leaders. Good morning. Mr. Sabelo Gwala, Kamuga Salka, Provincial Executive Officer,
Thank you very much, Program Director. Let me observe protocol and acknowledge the presence of all mayors, deputy mayors, speakers, all councillors, as well as any MMs in the room, CFOs, senior managers, and stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for asking Salga to come and present on synergies at your summit. Sigfaro has been our stakeholder for quite some time, and all our engagements in the past have brought us to where we are today. So it is no small matter that we are seeing an emergence of the recognition of the role that local government has played, and Sigfaro playing a part in that as well. We are seeing other stakeholders as well saying, hey, but if we were to look at how we achieve the Millennium Development Goals, it's because of the role that local government has played. So I don't envy being a mayor or a municipal manager, because it can often be a thankless job. But we are hopefully changing that now, because what we are seeing is other people saying, hey, when you look at the face of South Africa, it has completely changed from what it used to be. And it's a result of the hard work that many of you have been doing. When I'm asked to speak about synergy in local government, most of the time I have to decide whether I'm going to speak about synergy in the present state, present moment, and the present situation that we are facing, or I'm going to be futuristic, looking at where we are going, where we might be in the next 20 years. It might be of value to perhaps do a bit of both. So if we were to look at some of the past, the history, you have done well to get South Africans to have water, to have basic services. You have done very well. You have not done well to get them to pay for it. So on the one hand, but on the other hand, the difference between the ESCOM of today and the ESCOM of a few years ago, 7 years ago, the difference is one thing. It's not engineering, it's not any of that, it's money. The ESCOM of today has less money in relation to the ESCOM of yesterday. And that is how situations are judged generally. So if you were to ask me, how are we going to get synergy? I'll say only 3 things before I get into the presentation. The first thing is, we have to make money. Anyone who doesn't make money, kunzima ngisho kumlalela nje. You must make money. Secondly, we must make sure that whoever owes us, however little, pays us, as a matter of principle. Not whether we're making money, even if we are making money, as a matter of principle, whoever owes us must pay us. Number 3, we must expand our scope. In short, we must expand who we are. The definition of what a municipality is today must not be the same as what it would be 20 years from now. Okay, let's get into it. So we agree, yes, municipalities are in a situation where we are providing more and getting less. So it is not as though at the moment you are facing a situation where the audit outcomes are a complete collapse of governance, complete collapse of systems in municipalities. We have had exponential growth in our capital budgets, in our conditional grants, exponential growth over the past 15 years. That exponential growth in our conditioned funding has not been met with increases in our own revenue as well as in our equitable share. What that means is that you've been asking a very thin person to keep lifting very heavy things. Municipal finance offices have become skeleton structures because our own revenues are not strong enough to support the increase. Every time we go out and ask for funding and national government gives us another grant, it comes with conditions that someone in the office of a municipality must fulfill. And if that warm body is not there, the regulations keep coming. Even to pay councillors, just to pay councillors, it's a matter of extreme regulation after regulation after regulation, which a CFO must look at and make sure we're in line with those regulations. That same CFO must make sure that there's LED in the municipality that is happening, must make sure that we are growing our finances, we are collecting and so forth. Then we have systems to manage risk and so forth. That is the symptomatic challenge that we have. And unless we are able to change that particular part, we will consistently have challenges where audit outcomes and where we are will be completely different. So audit outcomes are not something that happens in a vacuum, but it happens within that particular situation. Let me dig deeper into how we can make money. Nobody will give us a cent unless we want it. Let me start with our political leadership. Unless we are unrelenting about anyone who owes us. So, if we put systems in place where we have got proper governance, proper policies, and we don't waver on that, we will succeed. What we are seeing at the moment, though, is a situation which has become quite prevalent in KwaZulu-Natal, where policies are set aside in certain situations. And that can't be allowed to happen. What can political leaders do to safeguard institutions against the abuse of power? That is going to be the fundamental question that will lead to whether politics in South Africa actually survives or not. When I say politics in South Africa survives or not, I mean your livelihood, the very survival of politicians as instigators of change is at risk. And the reason for that is because we are facing a situation where the abuse of that power is leading to its very own demise. It is possible for certain societies to be completely unpolitical, or for politics to not be the driver of change. If you go to a country, perhaps I won't name it, but a country just across the Limpopo River, you just go. If you go to certain countries, you'll find military running those countries. They determine who becomes president and when they change and who becomes military. If you go to other countries, you'll find civil society determines what happens. If you go to France, You will find organized people on social media and everywhere else. Social protests are organized by civil society, can remove a president. It is not a given that politics determines where society goes. It's not a given. Society gives you that ticket to say, you tell us where we are going as a society. And society can take it away depending on whether society is succeeding or not. We need to find a situation where our politics advances us. If you look at the graph that I'm displaying here, you will notice that the vulnerability to hunger is directly correlated with one's vulnerability, or rather access to grants. When grants go up, hunger goes down. So, can anyone other than the grant system claim a fundamental victory in the fight against hunger? This graph says no. Grant access increases, hunger goes down. That's the trend. So none of us are doing anything else. Otherwise, this graph wouldn't be so. It's almost like looking at a mirror. So, we will consistently provide. Why is the orange line going below the black line? Why is that? It's because the more water we're providing, we can no longer keep up with the growth of our own population. The growth of our population and the amount of water we keep providing means the percentage of people we cover is now in decline. Unless we are able to bring something new, the amount of drinking water we can provide will be consistently declining in percentage terms to the proportion of the population we are able to cover. So, say Bemile in short. So how do we bring synergy to all this? First of all, we have to collect. We have to collect. If you compare the last quarter, Q3 of municipal Q3, which you compare it to Q3 of the previous year, you will see a growth in our revenue of 4.8%. So if you compare us to the situation we were in the previous quarter, we've actually done well. We've grown our revenue. Property rates, we've increased that. Fines, or Ushuti, you find quite a lot. That is a very high increase. So you find a lot of people. And also interest also went up. But what does this all mean? This would be a marvelous picture if one were to say the obligation and expectations on you were equal. If the obligations placed on you were the same, we would say this is something to really, really celebrate, or we are headed the right direction. This picture is not what society is saying about you. Why is it that you can grow your revenue by almost 5% compared to the previous quarter, year on year, but society feels they are worse off? That's the synergy you need to get right. What you say and do and talk about yourselves is what society will say and do and talk about you. It starts with the little things. If we stop, for example, undermining our own institutions and applauding each other, it makes a big difference. Money and collection. Yes, let's have a business approach to getting our money. Let's have a business approach to revenue, but also to debt owed. This figure shows a consistent increase in the amount of money that people owe you. So you are not able to grow your equitable share. You are not able to grow your own revenues. You can only grow conditional grants because that's someone else gives you. That's what someone else gives you. And this figure, 20 billion, just keeps going up here. It's only for KZN. So that's your challenge. Anything else that you want to collaborate on will be very small in comparison to collaborating on collecting debt. If I work in eThekwini and I own a house in Pietermaritzburg, and Pietermaritzburg cannot activate wherever I might be renting or staying or SARS or whoever to get their money, we're not collaborating. For as long as a person can stand up in a courtroom and say they are an upstanding member of society because they've never owed anything more than a library fine or a traffic fine, and everyone in that courtroom agrees, yeah, no, this person, the only thing happened to her, they're an upright member of society. For as long as that happens, we are not doing our part. We do need, for traffic fines, library fines, whatever other fines, to be as serious as any other fine. To owe a municipality must be something that haunts you. So, when we are talking synergy, we are talking about, in essence, synergy or collaboration that helps us to collectively succeed. And Program Director, I'm very weary of the fact that we can start to talk about it in relation only to the circumstances where we are now, and not realize that there's this third element which I mentioned, which is expanding your scope. If you stay where you are, you will die. What are some of your risks? Which are your opportunities, by the way? We would all agree that climate change, shortage of skills, industrial revolution, crime and corruption present significant risks to local government. But they also present significant opportunities. If you just turn these very things around, climate change, it's a huge opportunity for us to be making more money. Huge opportunity. Skills shortage. While there might be a skills shortage in this country, we can make those skills. At the moment, we make every other thing except for the skill. Imagine if we didn't have an EPWP program, which meant you were only doing the basics, but was actually a process of you growing and expanding what you can do. So you come in for the first 6 months, we're teaching you to just sober up. For the next 6 months, we're teaching you a basic skill. The following month, we're teaching you something else. A skills revolution can begin, but we are not in that position at the moment, are we? Let us look at these risks as opportunities for us. I suspect that if we were to do that, collaboration would happen almost instantly. So So expanding our scope will mean tackling the very risks that people throw at us as we need to do something about this, we need to do something about it. We need to throw that back at them and as opportunities. Program Director, as I conclude, synergy is not something that happens in an abstract environment, meaning something that happens where all of us are doing our part and everyone's just going about their way. There must be a deliberate effort to synergize. But that can't happen if one municipality collects after 30 days, another collects after 90 days, another writes off easily and another doesn't. That's the other element that has to come in. We cannot consistently have a situation where workers across the road say, "Hayi thina basinikile leya mali sasitotoyela laba bathi hayi abakasiniki thina." Until we get those things right, we are going to struggle with synergy. So, as we sit here, all of us are looking for best practices as to how we can succeed. But I want to put it to you that how we succeed first and foremost is about how all of us do our part and do it well. Many people have said in local government, why can't we do this, why can't we do that? We do need the politics to be right. We do need the politics to be right. If we can't get the politics to be right, you can't even go into a community with a TLB or with a truck or whatever other services. You can't. So we do need the politics to be right. That is the bedrock of whether things happen or not. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate all those who will be receiving awards here today. Let me appreciate the significance of what Sikfaro has done. And as I was looking at the audience, I'm seeing only winners. And I was worried that the number of awards might not be enough because I can't see who shouldn't be getting an award here. All of you are winners. And it's up to us to start talking good about each other. Thank you very much.